Hello everyone, welcome back to Apollo Art Analysis. Today we're going to be looking at a piece from Jocelin Carmes. This piece it's inspired by Studio Ghibli, and I think that that's most apparent in the color and the stylistic depictions that we see here. So the main lessons that we're going to be focusing on is just this grand sense of scale. We're going to focus on a little bit of framing of our subject. We're going to talk about red on blue contrast, so the emphasis created by that. And then we're also going to talk about the influences of art history, specifically the Muromachi period. So let's jump right into it. So in our initial introduction, we're met with this immense scale. That is achieved by the more so portraiture format here. And just notice the amount of blue space here. This sky just floods us instantly. We get this flood of blue and green colors, which really give off an amazing sense of nature, and that is of course reinforced by the beautiful mix of diverse color here in the foreground. We have the reds, we have that kind of violet purplish blues, and we also have those spots of yellow which complement the green really nicely on the backing there. So we see a lone traveler here, and this is most reminiscent of the samurai. And if you want to have a brief history lesson on the samurai, check out a piece we just did before. It was from Matthew Brissini, and we went really deep on the history of the samurai. So if you want a little bit more information, go back to that piece, check that one out, and we're just kind of going to go forward from here. So of course you see that samurai sword there. That is very iconic. Even though the samurai most likely originated as horseback archers, they have been immortalized in history and pop culture with the sword all the time. So the red contrast emphasizes the form of our lone traveler here, and this subject is just dwarfed by the grand sense of scale here, and dwarfed by this endless natural landscape. It's really quite something. We see that these kind of backing poles and the banner of the samurai contrast a dark on light contrast onto the sky here, and that of course emphasizes the form even more. Because think about it, let's see what color is best, maybe this one. So we have this, we of course have the horizon here, but the form juts into this blue. So this kind of neutral, consistently kind of solid blue there, that juts right into that. So that of course emphasizes the samurai and brings our attention to it instantly. And there's something about red which makes it the most attentive color. It really draws your attention in, and it pops out to you, and it doesn't let you rest as well. Of course, that can also be seen in these little dots of blooming flowers in the foreground as well. Those really call your attention and add to the rarest color in the piece, which is this yellow and red there. So that's absolutely incredible. So we see a bit of framing created here, and this framing, it really intrigued me because I was kind of second guessing myself. Is it framing it? Is it not? It's really hard to say. Of course, we have these rolling hills, and you'll see these rolling hills kind of fall into the character. So because of that fall downward, I think that it is emphasizing the character as well. You see these kind of rolling hills. I go across there and across there. And these feel like they all draw your attention inward toward the subject. These, roll on for so long, which is pretty consistent, think about it. Pretty consistent line, but then it dips off there to drop. And of course that would extend farther there, but it dips off to point towards that subject as well. So I think that's important to know whenever you're taking a look at this piece. So as we mentioned before, this grand sense of scale is really important here. Oh yeah, I also wanted to mention that there's a bit of framing here created by these horizontal streaks. Not sure if that's the flight path of the birds or part of the clouds, but those feel like they really draw a line and emphasize and contain the form or silhouette of the main traveler, of our main subject here as well. So I think that's also important to note. So we mentioned before this grand sense of scale, and that is really important because In the Japanese Muromachi period, there was a few different people who traveled to China during the Ming Dynasty and learned a lot about Zen Buddhism and studied a lot of the great masters' works. And so what resulted from that was this grand new flourishing movement in Japan right after, which focused on unfilled space to define the piece and to also kind of give that grand sense of scale, but also as a way to spread the Zen sect of Buddhism as well. So that's really important to note. And we see, even though Carmes gives a clear, outright says it, that this is inspired by Studio Ghibli, we see that the Muromachi period still influences to this very day, because less is more. And by using that unfilled space, you are giving this grand sense of scale, which just you kind of just fall into it. And that also mimics things in Buddhism and Taoism, for example, the yin and yang, which is duality. Duality by definition. Black defines white, good defines evil, day defines night, and they both define each other by each other's existence, which is incredibly important to note. And we see the influence of that still to this very day. So I think that's really important to note whenever we're looking at this piece. The Studio Ghibli inspiration, I see it mainly in color and stylistic depiction. And then I see this grand kind of with the composition of less is more and this unfilled space. That really gives this piece a sense of life, and I see that coming from the Muromachi period. So it's a really, really cool blend of the late and very long ago Muromachi all the way up into Studio Ghibli. And that just blends to create this stunningly beautiful, stunningly natural, and grand cosmic scale of the piece which stands before us. So I hope you guys enjoyed. Carmes is getting a lot of showcases. I've been falling into this artist's work, just a French artist, and really has a really diverse style, isn't afraid to go outside the bounds, put some of those Eastern depictions, and really just go wherever the paintbrush takes Carmes. So that I'm following that artist really closely, and I think there's a lot of lessons to learn within that artist's catalog, within that artist gallery. Go check out some of the artist's original pieces on their profile and give them some love. It's incredible, incredible digital painting, very skilled. A concept artist, so that's also important to note. And that's what really creates this stunning and divine, colorful, natural experience which we see here. So I hope you guys enjoyed. Hope you guys learned something. And I will see you guys on the next Apollo Art Analysis. We hope you enjoyed today's episode. If you'd like to support our work directly, please check out our Apollo community tokens. Apollo Art Exchange is an ecosystem of art appreciation which elevates artists each and every day. Thanks for listening.